Alright guys, so this video, I'm just going to walk through some of your classwork with you. You have this assignment on Google Slides, okay? So if you want to open like this video in another tab, this is your assignment. It is on Google Slides. I have added it, like one slide is this, then 2 slides, and then you have 2 more slides for subtracting, okay? So I'm just going to do a couple of these with you on all of them to give you a little extra help if you need it. And if you don't, then you are more than welcome to not watch this video and just do your work, okay? But we want to make sure that we're doing things correct, because the whole point of you learning math is that you learn to do it right. That way every day you get smarter and stronger than the day you were before, okay? So again, like we said when we were doing notes, we are now adding positives and negatives with fractions and decimals, okay? So here, this first box, we are adding integers. So these are skills that you have already learned last week and earlier this week. So here, let's begin. Negative 21 plus 13. I have a negative and a positive. So since I have a negative, if I look back at my notes, the first thing I'm going to do is subtract because I have different signs. So I'm going to subtract 21 minus 13. And when I do that, I'm going to get 8. And then I need to look and see, do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? So if I look here, I have more negatives. So my answer is going to be negative. So negative 21 plus 13 is negative 8. All right, number 2 is 25 plus negative 4. So again, it's different signs. I have a positive and a negative. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract. 25 minus 4 is 21. And if I look here, I have more positives because I have 25 positives and I only have 4 negatives. So I have more positives, so my answer is positive. Right here, let me look. Right here, we have we have negatives. They're both negatives, so they're the same signs. So because they are the same signs, we're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So we're going to add 13 and 5. So when I add 13 plus 5, you get 18, and since they're both negative, you're going to keep that negative. All right. Then on adding decimals, I'm just going to do a couple from each section with you. So adding decimals, here, we'll just start at the top, I guess. So we're adding, and we're adding 2 negatives. So you have 2 things to consider. Now you need to think about, okay, what are my decimal rules and what are my positive and negative rules? And you have to do both of them. So you can do it, you just have to think through it, okay? So here, they're both negative. So they're the same signs. So since they're the same signs, we're going to add and keep. So I'm going to add 10 and 7/10 plus 3 and 5/10. And I'm going to make sure those decimals line up. So when I add them together, 7 plus 5 is 12. 1 plus 0 plus 3 is 4. And then I'm going to bring down this 1. And I'm also going to bring down the decimal. Now, it's important that I don't forget, these were both negatives, so my answer is also negative. All right, now this one, I have a positive and I have a negative. So since I have a positive and a negative, and it's an addition problem, I'm going to actually subtract. So I lined up the decimals and I subtracted. Now I have to ask myself, do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? I have more positives here, so my answer is going to be a positive 5/10. All right, now let's look at fractions with common denominators. Here, I'm going to do 11 with you, so that you can see a mixed number. There's a couple ways that you can add and subtract with fractions regarding mixed numbers. Some of you might want to keep it as a whole number. I'm going to change it to an improper fraction or the fraction where the number is bigger on top than the bottom, just because some people find that easier to understand conceptually, okay? So just a reminder on how to do that. You take the whole number and you multiply it by the denominator. So 1 times 8 is 8, and then you add 3. You add the numerator. So 1 times 8 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So I have 11 eighths plus negative 7 eighths. Now, I need to look at these fractions. I have a common denominator, so I'm good to go. And now I need to say, okay, I have a positive and a negative. So on an addition problem, when I have a positive and a negative, I actually need to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 11 eighths minus 7 eighths. And when I do that, the denominator stays as an 8. And then 11 minus 7 is 4. Okay, then I need to ask myself, do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? I have more positives, so my answer is going to stay positive. And then the last thing I'm going to do is simplify. 4 eighths, both of those numbers can be divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. And those are not simplified all the way, okay? So you can divide it by 2 again. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is a half. Now, originally you could have divided both of these by 4. That's what I would hope that you do. But again, just trying to refresh people on simplifying. So that is how you do it, okay? So 11, the answer would be 1 half. So it is a lot of things to consider, but these are all skills that you know, so you can do it. All right, and then I'll do one with you that is adding fractions with unlike denominators. So let me try to find one. We'll do this one down here. So negative 1/5 plus 7/10. So negative 1/5. First, I can see that I do not have common denominators. So to get a common denominator, I'm going to multiply both of these by 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 over 10 plus 7/10. And then here I can see that I have a negative and a positive. So since I have an addition problem with a negative and a positive, I'm going to actually subtract. So I'm just going to do the biggest number, 7 minus 2. So 7/10 minus 2/10 is going to equal 5/10. Okay? Then I need to ask myself, do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? Here I have more positives. I have 7/10, and that's more than 2. So my answer is going to be positive, but this will simplify. Both of these numbers are divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So here, that just worked out, has the same answer. It's going to be positive 1/2. Alright, now if you keep going on your slides, remember you're doing all of these problems. I'm just trying to help you. And now we're on subtracting. So, subtracting, you know your rules. You just have to actually apply them when you subtract with negatives. The first thing you're going to do is change the problem to addition. It's very important that you do that. Again, it helps you decide if an answer is positive or negative, okay? So here I have negative 21 minus 13, so I'm going to change it to addition. That first number stays the same, subtraction changes to addition, and this positive 13 changes to a negative 13. So now I have an addition problem and I can follow those addition rules. So here I see I have both negatives, which means they are the same sign. So the same signs I add and keep. So if I were to add these together, the answer is 34, and I add the numbers and keep the sign, which means I keep the negative. Here I have 18, and I'll skip on. You can do that one. 14 minus 27. Here I can tell that the answer is going to be negative because I'm taking away more than I have. So I'm going to change it to addition. First number stays, subtraction changes to addition, and this positive 27 changes to a negative 37. Or sorry, 27. So then I see here that I have different signs. So instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. So same signs, add and keep, different signs, you subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3, and 2 minus 1 is 1. And then if I look, I have more negatives, so my answer is negative. Alright, and then let's do, I'll do this one with you. So number 8. We have negatives and subtraction, so I'm going to rewrite it as addition. So I have 7 6 stays, subtraction changes to addition, and negative 10 and negative 10 and 1/10 changes to a positive 10 and 1/10. So now I have two positives, so same signs, add and keep, and I know that when I add with decimals, my decimal point needs to line up, and so here I can go ahead and add them together. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 0 is 7. And bring down the 1. And then also bring down the decimal point. So here, 7 6 minus negative 10 1/10 is 17 and 7/10. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. Alright, then on fractions, so let me say, you can do this. You can. It takes more work than normal problem, and that's okay. You can still do it. So here, I'll just do the first one with you. We have negative 6/11 minus negative 5/11. Well, my common denominators are there, so we're good to go on that part. And you know that with fractions, you are going to need the denominators to be the same. Well, now I see that I have negatives and I have subtraction, so I'm going to rewrite it as addition. So negative 6/11 stays, subtraction changes to addition, and this negative 5/11 changes to a positive 5/11. So now I have different signs. One is negative, one is positive. So I'm going to use my addition rules. When we have different signs, we're going to subtract. So 6/11 minus 5/11. That equals 1/11. Now I need to ask myself, do I have more negatives or do I have more positives? I have more negatives, so my answer is negative. It's kind of hard to see. Negative. Okay? So negative 1 and 11. Now, this problem and this problem are the exact same. This is the problem that you need to use to determine if you have more negatives or more positives. Alright, then over here, if you do number 13, negative 1 2/3 minus negative 5/6. So there's a couple things I need to do here. First, I'm going to get common denominators. So I'm going to change this to an improper fraction. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5, so it's 5/3, negative 5/3 minus negative 5/6. In order to get the common denominator, I can multiply both of these sides by 2. And 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 5 is 10. And I'm going to keep the negative from earlier, minus negative 5/6. Well, now I have common denominators. I have subtraction. Negatives, I'm going to rewrite it as addition. So this negative 10/6 stays. Subtraction changes to addition, and then this negative 5/6 changes to a positive 5/6. Okay, so now this problem and this problem are the same. Alright, so I'm not going to look at this problem anymore. I'm going to look at this problem to tell me what to do. So here I have a negative and a positive on adding, so since I have different signs, I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 5 is 5, and your denominator stays. Now if I look at these two, I have more negatives, so my answer is negative. It cannot simplify, so that's my answer. Okay, so I know fractions take longer, but integers and decimals really don't, so you should be able to go through this pretty quickly and then spend most of your time on fractions. Hopefully this just helped you get started, helps give guidance. Make sure that you're working out your problems. When you finish this assignment, upload a picture with your assignment to show your work. And I hope you guys have a great Friday and a great weekend, and I'll see you later.